Welcome to The Maintenance Mindset, an audio-video podcast brought to you by the Multifamily Media Network. I'm your host, Paul Rhodes, and over the more than 3 decades in the apartment industry, I've had roles that include being on-site, providing services as a vendor, creating and delivering multiple education programs, and active association work. This podcast is centered on the often overlooked role that our on-site maintenance workers play. You know, the men and women that respond in the middle of the night to the toilet call, or the after hours, it's really hot in my apartment request, or my favorite, my ring fell down the drain, get over here now. In other words, the often unsung heroes who are responsible for asset preservation and resident satisfaction. Working in multifamily maintenance provides interesting, sometimes amusing, and often fascinating stories and viewpoints. My encouragement to you is this: whatever you do it with a maintenance mindset. Today, we're going to talk about something that I don't believe gets enough attention, and that's the subject of teamwork. But I'm not interested in talking about teamwork as a way that I've heard a lot of people talk about it. Even myself have talked about teamwork on an apartment community in terms of opposing forces bonded together to do the same job. You know, the analogy in use I've heard, and I have even taken, is that of a football team, that you've got 2 portions of a football team. You got the offense and the defense. Well, I am not sure that as an analogy is a good way of describing our on-site teams and the work they do together. I definitely don't agree with the analogy of a family. As a matter of fact, I'm not a fan of that statement at all, of welcome to the family, or we're a family here. This is a business. No, we're actually not a family. And as a matter of fact, in my work history, I've got some really bad memories and of people that have used guilt and other methods of, but we're a family, to try and make me do things that really I either am not comfortable doing or have to sacrifice to do. So I'm not good with that as an analogy. Matter of fact, I have one that I think is even better. And you see, I like using analogies. An analogy, according to dictionary.com, is anything which is comparable to something else in significant respects. You see, I don't think a family and our work team meet that requirement. Yeah, they're similar in some respects, but not significant ones. I actually choose a little bit different symbol or analogy for what our on-site teams are to help me illustrate my thinking when it comes to teamwork. And that comes from the fact that for years, I have played in several different bands. Now, we're talking here musical band. I guess probably would be described as a rock band. I play guitar and bass, and if someone sticks a microphone in front of me, I'll even sing a little bit. But I like playing in a band, not so much that I'm overly talented. I mean, okay, I'm decent, but I'm not, fill a concert hall or fill a stadium type player. I'm more of a social musician. I prefer playing in a band because when you're playing together, it's just right. And there is a synergy that happens when you're on stage and you're playing a song. and you have your part in that song. And everybody else who's with you playing the same song has their individual parts that when they come together, it is just so much fun. And it is a blast. I believe that that is the best analogy for our on-site teams. Now, there are different places, there are different parts. Although I would be willing to guess that the different roles that our on-site team has that I tend to view in terms of a musical band are different than what you'd think. Because you see, if I break it down to an on-site team being in a band up on stage, I'm talking here about a typical 4-piece musical band. And there you have a singer, a guitar player, bass player, and a drummer. Those are the 4 people in a typical rock band. And sometimes the band, you've got the bass player sings along and you've got one of them plays keyboards and different parts, but they each have a role to play in the structure of the song. Now, I firmly believe that the people in a good band that actually run things are not the ones at the front of the stage. See, it's been my experience that the song that is played is not controlled by the lead singer. Yes, the lead singer does sing the words. They're out there. They're the flash. They're the ones with the wardrobe, the hair, and all the pyrotechnics and all of the amazing things that they do. And they sing the words. And in some cases, they actually set the tone of the song. But the leader of the band, from a musical section and from a musical breakdown, the leader of the band is actually the rhythm section, meaning the drummer and the bass player. And see, that's where I come into play. I play bass mostly. I am a rhythm player. Yes, I hold down the low end where me and the drummer are the ones who can actually control the song, change the tone, change the feel. If we're in sync, we can make the song, even though you're playing the same song, sound completely different. Paint with different colors, if you will. So if we're going to break this down, in the band, in our 4-piece band, my version of the analogy, the property manager, that's the drummer. The maintenance supervisor, that's the bass player. Go figure. It's my analogy, so I'm going to make myself what I want to be. Although I firmly believe that the rhythm section are actually the leaders of the band, even though often they're found at the backside of the stage. We'll come back to that. The lead singer, well, that's our leasing team. That's who's leasing apartments, getting attention. They're actually selling. The 4th person in our band, the lead guitar player or the lead guitar keyboard, either way, that's our maintenance team, our maintenance technician. So that means on our stereotypical 200-unit property, there's 2 maintenance technicians, the 1 per 100, that swag razor that we've talked about in the past. That means we got 2 maintenance people, maintenance supervisor and the maintenance technician. Well, the maintenance supervisor and the maintenance technician, they are the bass and the guitarist. The leasing or the office team, that's the drummer and the lead singer. So that's our band. Now, the reason why I firmly believe this is probably illustrated best by a song that I would like to believe everybody here can relate to, just based on the popularity of a few years ago and what has happened. And that is, have you ever heard the song called Don't Stop Believin' by Journey? I mean, yes, chances are you're humming it in your head right now because it's an iconic song. Steve Perry, oh my gosh, just his voice, he was the lead singer as it was recorded. It's an amazing song. My wife and I, we have a joke that no road trip is complete until we've heard Don't Stop Believin' by Journey. I mean, you may have your own song that way, but if we break it down, that song is truly made by the rhythm section. Now, if you're thinking of that song, it's got an easy beat to sing to. But actually, if you want to go this out and really get a true sense of what I'm talking about, look on the YouTubes and the interweb to pull up the drummer. It's a guy by the name of Steve Smith, and he did a tutorial video on everything that he has going on in the drums for that one song. It is absolutely amazing. And I knew it was a challenging song to play, and then I saw that tutorial video, and it's absolutely amazing. There is no way that I could disconnect my right hand from my left hand, from my right foot to my left foot, and keep track of everything that goes on in a way that the rest of the band could play the song. That's why I say a property manager is the drummer, because a drummer has to be stable, and whatever beat they set, everybody else builds upon and knows what to do based upon what's happening by the drummer. There are different parts and pieces that the drummer plays. There's the hi-hat, the snare, cymbals, the bass drum, the toms. All of those things occur, and depending on how fast or slow, how hard or soft, even the direction that the drummer hits that particular instrument can affect how it sounds. And without even saying a word, the drummer can guide into a chorus, a bridge, or back into a verse. But the drummer doesn't do just their job alone. You see, in Don't Stop Believin', the bass player for that particular song is a guy by the name of Ross Valerie. And the next time you get the opportunity to hear that song, I would like for you to direct your attention to the bass line. Matter of fact, go to the YouTubes. There's a video of Mr. Valerie going through what he played on that bass line. And it is absolutely iconic. Just for fun, I'm playing it right now in a band. We play cover tunes almost every weekend, and the keyboard player is yes, I'm old enough now, I can actually use the words. He's a young kid, great guy. But we were messing around in between songs one day, and I said, hey, have you ever heard this before? And I started playing just the bass line of Don't Stop Believin'. And he looks at me and he goes, that's a song by that older group. And I'm like, yeah, okay. And he says, oh, it's the Believing song, right? No singing, no words, just the bass. I wasn't even in the right tempo. I think I was playing it a little bit slow, and he still recognized the song. Add the drummer. Our drummer came in right as I was playing because it's such an iconic thing. And our drummer started playing. It was just the drummer and the bass player. And he and I played a majority of that song. And the keyboard player didn't know how, the pianist didn't know how the song went. And yet he was able to pick out some things, and our singer sang some of the words of it. And they were in the correct locations of that song, playing the right parts, identifiable parts, chorus, bridge, the verse, just based on how the drummer and I were playing without actually leading it. And you see, in my mind, that's how our properties are to work. What makes that possible from a musical standpoint is when the drummer and the bass player are locked in together. They are walking hand in hand throughout that song, meaning the drummer and the bass player create what is referred to as a pocket. The pocket is an identifiable part of the song that everything else gets built upon. If you want another iconic song to think about the pocket, think Billie Jean by Michael Jackson. The bass line in that song, dun, 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 that goes and that rides an undercurrent through the whole song. Everything else builds on top of it. The drummer comes in a little bit later than that bass line, that recognizable bass line. And together they carry the whole song all the way through. Everything else gets built upon that pocket. By the way, the drummer who did Billie Jean, his YouTube's video tutorial on how to play it is a masterclass on the pocket. He talks about how they used to play jokes when they would play that song live with Michael Jackson, and they'd speed it up a little bit or slow it down a little bit. As a matter of another song or another story to illustrate the point, James Brown talks about the fact that his bass player early on in his career, a guy by the name of Bootsy Collins, went on to become an amazing bass player for Funkadelic and other iconic bands. James Brown used to get so frustrated he would throw things at Bootsy when Bootsy missed a beat because it changed the type of footwork that James Brown was thinking about when he was on stage or attempting, or not attempting, doing while he was on stage. And you see, that comes down to the fact that that pocket, if it is in place, then the lead singer and all the other instruments can happen. They have a foundation. They have a place to sit. And that's the way it is on our properties when they operate.
Hey there. I'm Paul Rhodes from the Maintenance Mindset podcast. And today I have something a little bit different for you. And that is a little bit of personal philosophy. See, I live life by 3 rules. 2 of those rules are emblazoned on my dining room wall. My wife made a quilted wall hanging that have 2 of those rules on them because the 3rd rule is enforced all the time. The first 2 might be optional. You see, it's the 3 rules of coffee. Rule number 1 says, life is too short for bad coffee. Rule number 2, bad coffee is better than no coffee. Because of rule number 3, which is always in force, no coffee, no worky. I believe in coffee. Matter of fact, I just about always have a cup nearby that is full of that wonderful, velvety, fantastic elixir of life. The reason why I'm talking to you about this today is we now have the multifamily media network Grounds for Connection coffee. And if you haven't tried this yet, I can tell you from experience, it is definitely rule number 1 coffee. This stuff is fantastic. It's a mixture of beans from Central America, South America, and Indonesia. It definitely has a chocolatey note to it that is the fantastic way I use to stay caffeinated. And it's not Rule 2 coffee, because remember Rule 3, no coffee, no working. So if you're a late night maintenance team member who has to be up either early or way later than what you want, the next day, do yourself a favor. Get yourself a bag of Grounds for Connection from the Multifamily Media Network website. Thank you for your attention and have a caffeinated day.
Now, developing the pocket on a song for drums and bass requires a familiarity. In other words, the more in sync that the bass player and the drummer are, the tighter the pocket is. Several years ago, I was playing in a band, this different band, and it was a more of a jam band environment. And by jam band, what that means is you have a song with a structure that known words and the melody and everything is a very, very common song. However, the structure gets changed around based on what you're feeling. Have you ever been to a concert and the band is just hopping and they're playing and they're doing one of your favorite songs and they play and they get to the bridge, which is the part of the song that typically speeds up a little bit, the energy, the emotion picks up a little bit. And have you ever been in the middle of that bridge and all of a sudden you get that thought in the back of your head that goes, oh no, this song is almost over. I wish it could last forever. Maybe that's an exaggeration, but you want it to go on longer because there's an emotion, there's a feeling, there's something that's happening right here that you don't ever want to lose. Well, you see, a jam band, the environment found there is you're trying to do exactly that. Catch an emotion, a feeling, and ride it for as long as you can keep it living and breathing and moving. It's a fantastic environment to be playing in. Well, I was in one of those bands and we had songs that we were playing and we would get going when we're playing in front of an audience and we would just do it and we would lead and sometimes we'd redo a chorus and other times we'd redo it and sometimes the band would drop out and it would just be the drums that would keep it going and the melody and we'd sing and a cappella and all of those things would happen. But you see, what was unique about this jam band was that the drummer was extremely talented. I mean, he had actually played in the Army before he retired from the Army, but he was a part of the Army Jazz Band, meaning he would play for the president, for ambassadors. This band for the Army would go overseas to play for dignitaries. So that means, this was more than his full-time job. He retired from the Army, got out, and he continued to play in this amateur band that we happen to be a part of. And you see, I'll call him Steve. Steve and I got to know each other really, really well to the point that I could feel it was as if there was a telepathy between him and I. And we would actually unconsciously, sometimes it was just a look, sometimes it was a hand signal, sometimes it would be a nod, but we would change the song halfway through not because we were being mean or malicious or anything like that. We just felt that the song needed a change, that you start out playing it in a straight ahead 4/4 time. And then all of a sudden you change it to a different rhythm. And then maybe you go back to the straight 4/4 time and make it happen. And the cool thing was we didn't have to talk about it. We just did it. And he and I would be so in sync that I knew where he was going to go, and he knew where I was going to go playing wise, and we just did it. We didn't even have to count. Okay, we're going to change the beat to go to a halftime feel in 4, 3, 2, 1. We didn't even have to do that. One time we were playing and doing a song, and we were in the middle of the song, and he dropped his stick. So, I don't know what happened him to drop the stick, but he dropped his stick, meaning he missed the drum that he was gonna hit. Well, I skipped playing the note that went along with the drum that he was gonna hit, meaning his mistake wasn't a mistake because I was together. Afterwards, the singer from the band came over and talked to us, and he says, "Hey, did you miss that beat?" And Steve looked at me, and I looked at Steve and said, "No." He goes, "Because I was doing, you left me alone. I had that move that I had to do during that beat, and I did the move, but the beat wasn't there, so it looked kind of silly. You made a mistake." And actually, I looked at Steve, Steve looked at me, and Steve turned back to the singer, and he says, "Hey, the rhythm section leads the band. The rhythm section was together. Therefore, you're wrong. We didn't make the mistake. You made the mistake." And that's true. This one thing for me is how our teams on site should operate. You see, the property manager and the maintenance supervisor, if they're the rhythm section, they are in sync, meaning they know what the other would do in a similar situation. If you have a skipped apartment, a resident has just up and moved out, they've broken their lease, and you walk in and there's damages to the wall, and the maintenance supervisor takes a look at that wall and says, "We're going to need this type of documentation in order to bill this particular resident for these damages." And without asking, "Do I need to take pictures?" the maintenance supervisor takes the pictures, writes down the documentation, and provides it to the property manager in order for them to go. The reverse is also true, meaning that you've got a resident that their water heater has gone out 3 times, that the repair has been affected twice, and yet it's still broken. The property manager, rather than calling the maintenance supervisor to ask permission to get a contractor, not only that, but the property manager even knows which contractor is preferred to effect that repair. This, in my mind, is what it means to run a property as a pocket. In other words, the office team, the maintenance team, our maintenance technician, our leasing knows and is secure that they have a base to operate from. On a tour, if our leasing team is out on the tour and they have their box score, or they have their report that they look at to determine what apartments are available, they know that the property manager and the maintenance supervisor are on the same page with data entry to ensure that when the maintenance supervisor says the apartment's ready, it's been checked, it's been evaluated, and it's ready. And that means that maybe while our leasing team is out on a tour, that if the prospective resident says, "You know what? Instead of this floor plan, what if we looked at a floor plan that had the extra sunroom or had another bedroom, just for curiosity to see if that would work?" Our leasing team has the report in front of them, and because they have the assurance of knowing that the maintenance and the property manager are on the same page, they've created that pocket, then our leasing team, without even going back to the office, can automatically change and take that prospective resident to another apartment that's marked make ready. They don't have to worry about the fact that it might not be ready, or, "Gee, I wonder what the status is." That's an example of having that pocket. So, in the complex, unique, and predictable, stable world that apartment management is, having a pocket of your leaders, the maintenance supervisor and the property manager, tight together can be that magic feeling, that magic emotion, so that our teams, the leasing and our maintenance teams that go out and do that work, they have the ability to soar, to be at the front of the stage. I mean, we want our leasing teams, that leasing lead singer, to sing those high notes, to do the marketing stuff and things that they get to do. They are the in-office curb appeal that our maintenance team keeps throughout the rest of the community. And you know as well as I do that when we talk about curb appeal, we're not just talking about physical appearance. You know, the physical appearance of the property. Yes, that's the beginning of curb appeal. But actually, we're going one step further than that. We need the emotion of the property, the feel of the community. That's curb appeal. And that is what is set in a band situation. That emotion, that excitement gets set in place by your lead musician and your lead singer. But that emotion, that feeling can't thrive, or it has a very, very hard time to thrive if you don't have the pocket underneath it. It's okay. Let's talk about how we create that. The best way to create that pocket we're talking about, is to get to know one another. Yes, it is important for our leasing team and our maintenance team members to know each other, to have a level of expectation, to, in effect, know the song they're going to sing and know their parts. And when it's time for someone to solo, they solo and they step out on the front of the stage and they do their thing in front of everybody and all eyes are on them. And we need to be sure that we're there, the rhythm section, to support them out there in front of the stage. But how do you build that pocket? I'll tell you. First, set a time. Be sure that time happens. I'm an advocate for every single morning for a short period of time. The maintenance supervisor and the property manager, they meet every single day. I like it in the morning and then a quick touch base at the end of the day. Basically, the real quick meeting in the morning is, hey, this is what we're doing. This is what we've got going on. This is where it's happening. And this is what my plan is. Talk it through. If something needs to change, it needs to change. At the end of the day, it's kind of a, hi, how are you? Today was good. We did this, accomplished it. I'll see you tomorrow. Even just those short touch points allow us to get to know one another. The goal is to get close, as I was with Steve in that jam band. So that even if something gets dropped, the other covers. Because I got news for you. No matter how practiced you are, something will get dropped. Accidents will happen. Entropy occurs. Mistakes happen. We're human. What makes a band work is in those mistakes. You keep playing, you adjust, heck, you even have fun with the mistakes. Couple of points though. The only way that level of togetherness happens is not only through meetings, it's the little things. So here's a couple of little things that I've noticed at conferences, traveling around, driving through communities and properties. First, say hello, smile, It's the little things to your team members. Remember, you're in a band. You're all on stage. Everybody is looking at you. You have a uniform that identifies you as an employee, as an associate, and your audience, the residents, will take note and take cues from you. That means if you, band member up on stage, if you're walking over trash, what is your audience going to do? What's your resident going to do? If they see you pick up trash, they're much more likely to pick up trash. If they see you paying attention to what's going on and being pleasant, much more likely the feel of the property will be that way. The analogies for using a band for teamwork are huge. You set the pace. Property manager, maintenance supervisor, you are the rhythm section. Set the pocket. Get to know one another. The little things matter and count. Be that band. And remember, the rhythm section, man, we get to have a lot of fun. It is just fantastic. Your job can be fun, and it is fun. Thank you for joining me today. I hope you have a fantastic rest of your week, and I'll see you somewhere.
Thank you for listening to this episode of The Maintenance Mindset. I hope you take away ideas that apply to your current and future career goals. Please check out Maintenance Mindset Minute to hear short-form, high-impact, applicable, maintenance-centered information. Whatever you do today, do it with a maintenance mindset. If you enjoyed this episode, please like, comment, and subscribe. Visit multifamilymedianetwork.com to learn more about our other industry podcasts, thought pieces, and sponsorship opportunities. I'll see you somewhere.